Welcome to our Danos Pathway to Success video series. This series will be focusing on diversity and inclusion in the workforce. Today, I'm super pleased to welcome Sabina Khanom, Head of Inclusion at Aviva. Sabina has worked in diversity and inclusion for over 10 years now, both in the private and public sector. So it's super great to have her join us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Isabel. Good to be here.
The first question I would like to start with is, why is diversity and inclusion important in the workforce?
Really good question, Isabel. So diversity is what the workforce is. It's the diversity means to have lots of different people from different backgrounds, different kind of nationalities, races, genders, gender identities. And so that's what makes up the workforce. So the workforce is diverse. You can't control that. The inclusion bit is the most important bit. That's a bit around making sure that your culture is inviting people from these different diverse backgrounds, is making it equitable for people to come into your organization and to be able to progress within your organization and that they can flourish. And so inclusion is the key part in unlocking the diversity.
Whose duty is it to address these issues?
I think diversity and inclusion is everybody's issue. So everybody has an age, a gender, a background. We all have some sort of diversity. In terms of inclusion, making it a place where people can come and feel that they can be themselves, that they can belong, that they can have equal participation within the organization. It is everybody's duty to make sure that they create that inclusive and safe culture where people can thrive and can be themselves, so that organizations then can prosper, be more innovative, more creative, and have the best out of their workforce as well.
So what would you say, Sabina, is the big misconception around diversity and inclusion?
I think often people mix up those two words quite a lot in terms of what diversity is and what inclusion is. And I think usually focus so much on the diversity element. So in terms of bringing people in and bringing lots of women in or ethnic minorities into the organization, but not really thinking about inclusion, not thinking, well, actually, now that we have lots of women and kind of ethnic minority within the organization, how do we help progress their careers? How do we help retain these amazing people that we've recruited? And don't really think about that. So not really looking at the culture, whether that is, is enabling people to flourish, to look at where the biases are, what's stopping people from, progressing or continuing their kind of career trajectory within the organization. So I think inclusion is the piece that most people forget or don't know how to do, because it's the hardest piece. Inclusion is all about and culture takes years to fix, and that's where all the hard work needs to go into. And I think sometimes organizations rely really heavily on their diversity inclusion teams to sort out the problem, and so you have small teams that are trying to take on this mammoth task, which they can't do. It's what you said before, actually, whose responsibility is it to progress inclusion? And it's one's, and to get everyone to realize what their role is and how they can do it. And some of you can do that is through kind of looking at your culture strategy and how that links in with your business strategy and being able to embed inclusion into that. So if you're an organization creating products, how inclusive are your products? What does your brand look like? Who are you missing? Who are you excluding with some of the things that you're doing? And how do you become more inclusive? Similarly, with people strategy, who is it that's coming into the organization and leaving within the first year? What are the progression rates looking like? Is there a group of people who are progressing at a slower rate than another group? Just so thinking through all of those sorts of things is really important.
Sabina, why should firms really take diversity and inclusion seriously?
I think there are so many reasons. Number one is it's the right thing to do. Then you have the legal case for why you need to do diversity in different markets. But then also just thinking through in terms of a business, diversity brings profitability. There's been study after study to show this, whether you look at McKinsey, whether you look at Baroness McGregor Smith's review around kind of just increasing the participation of ethnically diverse people within the UK, will add, I think, 24 billion to the economy. And right now, where we are with COVID, how the economy is going, we need to do everything we can to grow our economy back again. So why wouldn't organizations really tap into that talent and really help progress and have equal participation of those colleagues and people?
No, exactly. And finally, Sabina, what tips can you share with the viewers today who are looking for new ways to attract, promote, and retain diverse candidates?
It's about inclusion. It is about looking through how is inclusivity looked at within your organization. How do you reward inclusive behaviors? How do you hold people accountable for inclusive behaviors? And then what are the consequences if someone is not inclusive and not behaving with the organization's culture and value? So I think that's really important. But in terms of doing kind of actions and work and having that in place, I think it's really important to understand the diversity of your workforce. So be able to look at diverse, data that you can get from different markets. And we embarked on a program to collect diversity of our people, not just looking at ethnicity, but broader, just, who's a carer, what sexual orientation are you from, just the breadth of different diversity characteristics. And we started to collect that. So we're now at around 53 completion rate. So it's really trying to kind of encourage people to give us their data. And when you do that, you need to make sure that people trust you and feel safe that that data is used in any sort of kind of controversial way, but that data is actually going to help inform the recruitment, the talent, the kind of progression work that you want to do. So I can now look at my data to say, well, actually, is that promotion level where people get stuck? Is that grade, and this is where people get stuck, this function, to be really specific with my interventions, to be able to go really look at that and create kind of interventions that will help support that. I think that's really important. In terms of data also, people get really fixated on people data, but there's so many different kind of resources and toolkits out there in different industries. So I think definitely utilize those. Speak to your stakeholders internally as well and get qualitative feedback from your people, which is so important because that gives you in the moment kind of insight into what's going on.
Thank you very much, Sabina. That was super insightful. And I'm very sure that the viewers watching are able to take away a number of tips from that. Thank you for your time.
It was a pleasure, no problem at all.
Thank you to our viewers watching. If you would like to find out more about diversity and inclusion, please refer to our recent D&I event, which is on our website, or you can contact us directly at DANOS. Thank you very much.